You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 14, Episode 13, titled The Roth Matthews Roast. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one acerbic co-host from the podcast pod, is my co-pilot. Please say...
The first thing that I do when I get home, I'm gonna smoke a fat-ass blunt.
To Taylor, the Latte boy... Hello, Taylor.
That is not the clip zero I thought you were going to take.
Yeah, everyone at home needs to know we have a little bit of a bet going. Not a bet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you call this. I don't know. A challenge.
A gentleman's wager.
A gentleman's wager, if you will. Where we talked about this earlier on Just Between Us Girls, which of course I'm going to plug Patreon. I know you guys, that's your favorite part of the show. So hold on. It's coming. But right now... I told Taylor, I zigged and I zagged. I told Taylor that I chose this clip zero because there was one that I thought would be a good clip zero. Mm-hmm. But I thought, oh, Taylor's going to think this is the clip zero. And so I zagged. Okay. And so Taylor says he remembers what he thinks the clip zero was going to be. Taylor, and I have the other one pulled. What did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be, the clip zero was going to be, that joke wasn't funny.
Oh, this is the other one that I pulled.
Where's the meat? I will give them the meat.
That's a good one. I did have a fleeting thought that could be a clip zero, but I thought the joke wasn't funny. I thought would be the clip zero. Oh well, it was worth a shot.
It was. Okay, guys, get ready for your favorite part of the show. Taylor and I just had a very lengthy and insightful and the whole thing on Just Between Us Girls. And there are two ways you can listen to it. One, you can go to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, sign up at the executive level and get that show. If you sign up at the premium level, by the way, you get this show like 2 days early, no commercials. You get a whole bunch of other content, right? Mm-hmm. But let's say I said this before. So patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, you guys know it. You know the drill. But like I said, there's this now, if you don't want to fuck with Patreon, you'd rather fuck with Apple. If you scroll up on your Apple subscription, on the page of the show, it says subscribe, premium subscription. And on that, you get Just Between Us Girls, which we had a very long, insightful one today. Mm-hmm. And, you also get our season 3 recap. You know, you're going to get, I realize you're going to get a show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah. You get 4 shows a week on that Apple Premium subscription. Well, no, because you get the public feed. So Monday and Friday are the public feed shows. And then you get 2 additional shows. So that's all up there at Apple subscriptions, you know, Apple Premium. You have patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Join today, get all this amazing content. By the way, once again, I need to plug the Discord. And we have new Discord people all the time, but some of them come, they poke around, they go to the porn decor lounge, and then they leave. Taylor is one of them, yeah. Okay? But we have this new one.
I feel very attacked.
We have this new one to show you what it takes and how welcoming it is. We have Gay Law Librarian is the name of on his Discord. He came in this week, and he has, in like a week, become quite the superstar. He's posting everywhere, showing the live shows. He's here right now. He helped me with, when I was going to yell at Griffey, he got me like ratings information, like, which I don't think I ever actually brought up in the show. Yeah, I was going to bring up to Griffey. So, okay, now I got to talk about this.
Finish talking. Gay Law Librarian.
Gay Law Librarian is the new
attention.
He's
first.
the Discord.
Let's talk about the one that deserves attention.
Gay
first.
Law Librarian is the new, right now, the current reigning Discord queen. You know, and is the superstar right now. You know, in the past, remember there was Jeremy. Remember Jeremy from Holland? He was a superstar for a while. Now he's gone off back to Holland. I don't know where he's gone, right? Gay law librarian he did say he might be Griffey in disguise. So let me explain what that means.
Okay.
If you did not listen to Rulaska Thoughts, which has come back, you should listen because it's going to be a new show. I had to think of a better name than Rulaska Thoughts. I couldn't think of it at the time. But what we're going to do is we're going to have like 10 minutes just talking about Drag Race up front. But then any foreign language Drag Race show is now going to be covered in a very kiki casual way over on that show. So this week we did Drag Race España. And we'll do Drag Race España every week, but it's just going to be a casual conversation about the show. No formal recap, no producers, nothing. Just friends talking, right? Mm-hmm. Loving the show, not complaining about the number of episodes. But what you missed this week was we got a really nasty voicemail from a guy named Griffey. Okay, and I know Taylor doesn't want to address him, so you don't have to. A guy named Griffey who said that we bitch about the number of episodes, which Taylor does and I don't, and and that we hate the show, which neither one of us hates the show. You know, we make fun of the show, right? But we make fun of those we love. You know?
I was going to say, we make fun of each other.
Yeah. Dummy. And, and anyway, the point is, he left a voicemail. He said everyone felt that way. Well, Taylor, we have a voicemail I want to play for you. So if you don't know what we're talking about here, go to Rulaska Thoughts, listen to this nasty, nasty voicemail, and then come back here. But here's a response to Griffey.
Hey, Joe and Taylor, the Latte Boy. I just want to say that, I listen to your podcast because, I like the show, but mostly I listen to your podcast because I like you, Joe and Taylor, the Latte Boy. So that's what I want to tell Griffey. And also, when you say, that leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth, well, when did you pluralize your pronouns? Because I'm not included in that, my son. Because you don't know what tastes I like. I listen because I like their take, and that's my taste. And I just love Taylor, the Latte Boy, kind of, feeling a bit direct. I love your argument is invalid. It was really good. Anyway, I love the show. I'm not a Patreon or what is it? I'm not, I don't spend money.
Oh, wait, never mind. Voicemail ended. Just kidding.
How did that one get in there?
Yeah,
it's a little warm in here.
No, by the way, guys, you do not, I shouldn't say this. It's not good for what I'm trying to do. I don't support anyone on Patreon either. Right? I don't get that part. But I'm the creator, and of course I would subscribe to my own content.
Love the show.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Oh, I'm Carol, by the way, from Nova Scotia.
Oh, come on, Carol from Nova Scotia. All right. This week, the Queens paint murals. Rose Ross Matthews and Rock Tutus on the runway. Bosco's named the winner of the challenge, while Deja Sky, Diabetti, and Georges are in the bottom three. This forces them to square off in a lip-sync battle for their lives. Diabetti is told Shantae, you stay, while Georges and Deja Sky are asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy, name 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
All of it. I liked all of it. I liked everything from the beginning to the end. I was sad that the episode wasn't 6 hours long.
Okay, very good. And for me, let me think. Oh my god!
I have actual things.
Oh, those weren't your actual thoughts because you're always really positive.
No,
so I just assumed.
I know. I'm always just where I just sit and just squeal with delight at everything that happens. I liked the mini challenge.
That would have been a good April Fool's episode.
Next year.
Yeah.
And I liked the mini challenge, and I liked the lip sync, the 3 with 2 going home, but not for the reason that everybody probably thinks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was an interesting twist that, much like the double Shantae that seems to happen every season, I would love to see something like this just randomly thrown in during the seasons now, of where suddenly it's not just 2 of them lip sync against each other, it's 3. And that 2 of them have to go home. Not for the reasons that everybody thinks, because that definitely played a reason to why I liked it. But just it's because it's something different. Again, if we're gonna play with the format a little bit, this is some way that you could actually play with the format. I would say the one thing that I did not like is I normally like the roasts a lot. This was possibly one of the weakest roasts that they've had.
What would be a weaker one?
I feel like the Michelle Visage roast, even though that has the infamous pheromone roast, but there wasn't. It didn't feel like there was even attempts. Everybody was slightly cringy with the exception of 1 or 2, but that's getting way ahead to when we talk about that. How about you? What are your 2 things and 1 thing?
Well, I always look forward to the roast. Okay, so even if it's a bad roast, I'm gonna like the episode more. Okay. B, I don't know. The thing I didn't like about the episode, I actually thought, if I'm being honest, I thought, I keep wanting to call her Deja Soul. What was the name of the new guest judge?
Dulcie Sloan.
Dulce Sloan was needlessly harsh on the girls in the rehearsal.
I was mixed. I wrote down at one point, I'm like, oh, she's actually a good, when they were first doing it, when they were first coming out, I was like, oh, she's a really good coach. But then during the judges, I was like, yeah, you are being a little Todrick-y right now.
Yeah, it was like, she wasn't really being constructive. She was just saying that's not funny. Which is, I don't know this Dulce Sloan from anybody, right? But if her history is in stand-up comedy, then there are ways that you can say, okay, how do we reframe that? How do we twist that? How do we change the wording? There was actually, and maybe we didn't see it. I can't remember who it was. Had a good joke, but as a joke writer, I was like, oh, we need the joke's good. We got to switch the words up though, where we have to end on the punch, which they didn't. I can't remember what the joke was. So it's useless.
Well, I feel like during that part of it, she did say things like, you're using too many words. We got to figure out a way to kind of boil this down to the setup and the punchline, and you're wandering too much. I feel like she said that, but she feels like she said that a couple of times with girls. So in that regards, I thought, oh, that is helping. That does seem to be helping. But then it seemed like none of them took her advice, which then I think also she seemed kind of pissed off.
Yeah. And none of the girls went for her. And I think it's because she gave off an energy like, you better not roast me. Like it didn't give an energy like roast me.
Yeah. Only one. I wrote down that the first
one person did.
One person did.
Felt like Bosco or Camden.
Yeah.
Called her like something about Lizzo.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, and then saying okay as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. And but that's, I don't know. I didn't really have strong feelings about this episode either way. And I think this is my whole take on the whole season. I actually don't maybe there's been a couple of episodes that I strongly dislike, but I think sort of my overall problem with the way the season is presented is it's just a malaise, it's just
middle
blah.
of the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, for instance, this isn't a horrible episode, it's like the nourishment is palatable, mama. Like, it is well edited. It is moves. The episode moves. It doesn't drag. It does, but it's like junk food in the truest sense, in that it's empty calories. Like, you just watch this and you don't get enjoyment out of it. Like, you were enjoyed for the moment, but you immediately forget the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, It reminds me of, I don't know if it's changed now, but there was one of those shakes, Soylent, right? And
I was just going to say that it has nutrients, but it is not delicious.
Yeah, I used to drink Soylent, and Soylent, I remember the weirdest experience with drinking Soylent. Maybe Soylent has changed their recipes, okay? But at the time, what was weird about Soylent was it gave you 400 or 500 calories per shake, and you would drink it, and it had the consistency of pancake batter, but it and I don't really know how to explain this, it tasted like nothing. It literally tastes like there was no taste whatsoever. It wasn't a bad taste. It wasn't a good taste. It was like you felt volume in your mouth and you were drinking it, but there was no flavor whatsoever. Like water, I suppose. Maybe even water has taste. And that's what this feels like. It just feels like we're getting a show and it's the form of a show. And I said before, the girls are very likable. But it's just, I leave with feeling nothing.
I think that the fact that the girls are so likable is part of the problem.
Yeah.
That even the closest that we have to a villain, which would be Diabetes, is likable. I like Diabetes, clearly, which is why I still have insulin shots every day.
I'm reserving comment, but I'm not a big Diabetes fan, but she doesn't rise to the level of villain. And like I said before, I recognize a lot of my problems with Diabetes are that she reminds me of the boyfriend that I don't like of somebody that I know, and that could be projecting onto her that hatred. But I was listening to our response to Griffey, and in it, I was talking about how a lot of the rancor towards the show from the audience has to do with the fact that they had 6 non-elimination episodes, right? And I was trying at the time to think of a good analogy. And I thought of one later, which was, do you remember whenever you'd be in school? Because I was talking about how not having anyone eliminated at the end of the episode is very frustrating and anxious, anxiety-inducing kind of.
Right.
When you'd be in school and the teacher would have all this writing on the board, and then she'd erase the board, but there'd be one little bit left.
Yeah.
And she's talking, but all you can think about is that she didn't erase that one little bit. I think when you keep having this many non-elimination episodes, that's what it feels like. It's like, it doesn't feel complete. It feels there's an anxiety in that, like, no, we were supposed to eliminate somebody. And it just feels, and when you have that enough times, it turns into anger. It turns into
We're working
hatred.
towards a goal. And then it's the equivalent, kind of using an analogy when you're talking about Soylent. It's sort of that of where when you're trying to lose weight and you weigh yourself on Saturdays and you worked really hard to get somewhere and you get on the scale and you weigh the exact same amount that you weighed the week before.
Yes.
It's frustrating.
It's constant plateau. It reminds me of a wise man named Yoda. I think he said this. Do or do not. There is no, you both Shantae. I think is what Yoda said.
Away, you must Shantae.
Yeah. No, stay, you must Shantae.
Stay, you must Shantae.
After the non-elimination, Bosco enters the workroom waving her golden chocolate bar. Bosco expected everyone to say her name on the runway. Meanwhile, Camden and Bosco bury the hatchet. Your thoughts on everything that happened non-elimination? Like, even listen to what I just said. Nothing happened.
Well, and I mean, what I wrote was all of the niceties. Now, any other time that there has been in the past, and it's happened a couple of times here where nobody's gone home, they inevitably show one girl, usually the villain, and I'm saying that in rabbit ears, usually it's Diabetes going, we're still at the same number. Like, it's going to be that much harder to get somebody to go home. And The closest we had was Georgia saying this. But with all of the niceties that are going on, it feels like they are trying everything they possibly can to get these girls to fight. And I think that the gold bar was supposed to, while everybody was happy for them, I think they were expecting somebody to say something dramatic. And the closest we got to that was at the end of Untucked last week when Willow said, I'm so happy for you, but I'm also pissed off at you right now. And everybody just laughed. Like nobody said, between that and when we see later when they give half the group the chance to create the rank, they want something to happen. The closest we got to that was Bosco and Camden last week. arguing over the one spot. And that was like, it was very much, I felt like the guy in the meme in the yellow suit that's standing behind the tree and like, rubbing his fingers together, licking his lips, like, all right, finally we have some fight. And now we're back to walking with children in nature all the time.
Yes. But while you were talking, you just made me realize something, is that we don't consider these contestants as people. And what I mean is, we think about the number of episodes. We're going back to this whole drama again. We think about the number of episodes.
Griffey, skip ahead about 30 seconds.
Yeah. We think about this number of episodes in terms of our own experience and how frustrating it is. But now I'm thinking about Georges and Deja going home and how happy they looked. And I was
that is the last note that I wrote. They looked relieved. And
I'm like, yeah, because if they're there for 14 episodes, that's probably almost like 6 weeks, and then they had to, because they were still in COVID, safety, they had to isolate in the hotel room for 2 weeks. So this is nearly 2 months of near isolation that they've been in. They must be so happy to go home.
And I would surmise that both of them on some level, seeing the competition, knew that they were devoting their lives to this for these 2 months and weren't going to win the crown.
Yeah.
When you're seeing everybody around you have multiple wins and one only seems to be there because she can lip sync the house down boots, and the other one is delusional and thinks that because Ru said at one time she was the lip sync assassin of the season.
Yeah.
You have to realize, like, oh, I'm going to be here. And Deja kind of talked about it and untucked a little bit of like, it almost feels worse that I'm still here and that there's a possibility that I'm not going to win the crown. Like, I'm so close to it and I'm not going to get it. Like, it almost makes it harder to be here.
Well, yeah, but also too, if you think about it from a pragmatic point of view, is the two of them realize they made it to Snatch Game. Deja won Snatch Game. They're leaving right before the penultimate episode. Their booking fees are up.
Yeah.
They've gotten where they need to go. And I mean, they're literally leaving at the sweet spot. Because tomorrow someone will be they were right there near the crown, the finale, and they didn't make it. That person will be very disappointed. But they're leaving pretty much close to the end. And they don't have, they're going to have a high quote, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, the next day, Deja and Georges bicker over the title of Lip Sync Assassin. Next, RuPaul entered the workroom with Norvina, the president of Anastasia Beverly Hills. For this week's Mandy Challenge, the queens working in teams will recreate a mural of RuPaul and Dolly Parton. Team Dolly, which includes Camden, Willow, Daya, and Bosco, shines brightest and wins the mini challenge. Next, RuPaul announces this week's Maxi Challenge, the roast of Ross Matthews. The queens will need to prepare original comedy sets, roasting Ross and the judges panel and their sisters. As the winners of the mini challenge, Team Dolly gets to set the order for the roast. Taylor, and if we didn't cover anything after the non-elimination, go ahead by all means and cover it. But any big thoughts on anything we just talked about? What do you think about that mini challenge?
I like the mini challenge, as I said in the beginning of the episode. It was fun. It was not a long mini challenge. I mean, they released that during Act 1, which they released on Wednesday on YouTube, and that whole clip was, including the beginning, was 9 minutes long. Mm-hmm. So it was just a fun, silly. It definitely was cross promoting. I wrote down Ru standing next to a busted Lady Gaga impersonator.
Oh yeah.
Which I get she was on, I think, last season where they had the fun challenge of where they had to paint each other's faces from behind. And that was silly. And this kind of felt sort of silly. So in that regards, I liked it. How much do you think that palette is? I looked it up. The palette that they're promoting.
Well, I know Anastasia Beverly Hills is very expensive. I'm going to guess $180.
No. Lower.
Oh, really?
Much lower, actually.
$50?
A little bit higher.
$51?
$60.
Oh,
$60.
Really?
Yeah. Which is not terrible from what I know about makeup. But so it was $60. But the whole idea that half of them get to assign the roast, I feel like, again, if one thing that we have seen, even the groups that all seem to get along, you know, an example that I could think of is the or the Lawrence Chaney season of Drag Race UK. When queens get to assign the roast, that seems to be where there's a fight. And even then, I feel like the producers were looking at this like, fuck, we can't even get, like, where everybody like was willing to work together to get a list. Like nobody seemed pissed at their spots, to where even somebody brought it up in confessionals. Like everybody is happy with where they got, that they got their spots. Nobody, I believe, like one of them even says, one of the ones at the signing, like, okay, so everybody's got something. None of them can be mad at us at this because everybody got what they want. That's great for the contestants, but as far as something interesting, that's not great for us.
There's a rumor going around the drag queens that I got whiff of, and then someone made a post about it, and then they put it on Discord, but it was on April Fool's Day, so people were like, "Is this an April Fool's joke?" And I don't know if this is true. I could poke around and find out if it's true or not. But that season 15 is going to be the last season for a while. That they want to reboot the show, and they want to take a year off or two to reboot the show. Oh, don't get me wrong. They'll still have a billion other franchises, just the U.S. show, you know? I don't know if this is true. That seems unusual, right?
Yes. And for them to release it on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I mean, this was like a fan account and stuff like that. But I had heard rumblings about that. That seems very strange. But I don't know. You know, they make very mysterious business decisions. I think it's a profit deal, Taylor. I think they want to make money. In the workroom, Team Dolly strategizes on the lineup and the queens start joke writing. Team Dolly sets the order as follows: Bosco, Georges, Willow, Angeria, Daya, Deja, and Camden as the closer. Over in the rehearsal, Michelle is joined by the Daily Show's Dulce Sloan on the main stage. Bosco needs to be more shady. Willow needs to get to the point. And Angeria shows real promise. Daya gets laughs from Michelle and Dulce. Deja learned her jokes don't work, and Camden gets laughs, and Georges flops. Any thoughts on what happened in the Maxi Challenge there, Taylor?
I was surprised at just how bad the rehearsals all went. Yeah. Because even the ones that they said were pretty funny were not necessarily very funny. Like you didn't get, with the exception of maybe one or two jokes where like you get the big Michelle Visage laugh. Yeah. That it just seemed a lot of like, okay, why is that supposed to be funny? And I was thinking, unfortunately, again, I spoiled it for myself. I knew two girls were going home this week. But my thought was, okay, so are we having like another Snatch Game experience where they're all going to tank? So I was a little worried going into the actual roast that it was going to be just a night of cringe. So, that was kind of my thought with that. And I also thought that Georges giving up sort of felt like a misdirect at first. Like maybe she actually was going to like knock it out of the park, because we haven't really seen a girl give up like that in a long time, or where they just sort of looked defeated. I feel like the closest we've seen to something like that, particularly like the laying down, I almost feel like we're going to see the memes of Georges and Nina Bonita Brown, where they're both laying across an ottoman in a bathrobe. Because I feel like that happened in season 9 as well. Not long before she sort of just kind of gave up and went home. It just wasn't very like, oh, okay. But that makes sense too, of when we realize that, you know, it's sort of like, you know, dance for your dinner constantly, and that gets exhausting after a while.
Well, it's actually very similar to season 7 in that you have this cast that I wouldn't say they're a strong cast. Season 7 had a strong cast. Yeah. But a cast is a nice group of girls, you know, and they throw these challenges at it's like, in other words, they didn't book any comedy queens. They booked a lot of dancing queens, you know, who feel the beat of the tambourine. But,
so dumb. We're so dumb.
But then they book these queens who can dance, and then they give them a bunch of comedy challenges or a bunch of like design challenges and it's like, I get it. Maybe you have to throw them for a loop once in a while, but then did they book any comedy queens? I'm trying to think here.
No, even to the ones that went home. I don't know that there would have been a comedy queen.
Yeah. So
there didn't seem to be the outright Instagram queens either. There didn't seem to be a lot of bedroom queens.
There were
either, which now when you talk about that as far as like the quote unquote classifications of the queens, that's one that we usually get that we didn't necessarily get this time.
Yeah, I don't know how they cast the show. I really don't know what their process is. But like, I'm wondering if they should in the future go in a sort of Survivor type mode where they have, camp versus dance or Instagram versus, and there's different teams. And then they finally merge at some point where they do, I don't know, because it just seemed like this, and maybe that's the problem, is that this cast is too nice, but not utilizing the best way to show off their skills.
I would agree with that.
And maybe that's why Georges was not as pissed, because she's like, it's another fucking comedy challenge. I don't do comedy challenges. It's just not what I do. Now I do think that if you're going to go on the show, you're going to realize you're going to do some comedy challenges. There's always going to be a roast. There's always going to be a snatch game. There's always going to be some sort of acting challenge to be funny. But, yeah. And I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you, Taylor. I'm usually lying to you, but, I'm going to be honest.
Oh my God, me too.
I know. As a podcaster right now, I feel deficient because I don't have much to say about this episode. Maybe that's why I want to talk about Griffey. Maybe that's why I want to talk about this new sugar-free gum I saw in the aisle of the supermarket. I want to talk about anything but this episode. Not because it's bad. Like I told you, there's just nothing to say about it.
It's sugar-free gum.
Yeah. It's sugar-free gum. It loses its flavor after 10 seconds.
Yeah. Because I also know that you tend to do the heavy lifting when we have roast episodes.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, where you've talked about the order you want to go in and that sort of thing.
It came up again this time, yeah.
And I feel like we've kind of done this already, and nobody fought with anybody about, well, why did you put me there when I said I wanted to be here?
Yeah. And there were no iconic, they tried to make Georges into the pheromone with the,
yeah.
Honestly,
that felt more Blair St. Clair to me when she did the roast on All Stars, which her papers were getting mixed up her notebook.
Yeah.
Versus pheromone.
True. You're right. And you're right. I find myself saying the same thing, which is, guys, I'm going to say this once. If you know a girl's going to be on Drag Race, let me send this to her. On the roast, you want to go as early as possible. You want to go first. A roast is not like a stand-up show. A roast is opposite, because a stand-up show, you have a bunch of topics at your disposal, and so the likelihood of people covering the same topics would be unusual. And in fact, in a real stand-up show, you would consult with the headliner to make sure the topics don't conflict. Okay?
Yeah.
And in a roast, you're all talking about the same things. So if you want to go first or very early on, especially if you're not very good, because you're getting first crack at the material. This is why they save the big heavy hitters for last in the Comedy Central roast. Yes, because they're very good, but also because they could still be funny and have heard all the jokes. They're going to take it in a way that no one else takes it, Mm-hmm. So they were like, oh, I don't want to go first. And then like Bosco was like, I will go first. And like, now, by the way, if I was on Drag Race, I would do the same thing. I'd be like, I guess if no one wants to go first, I'll go first. Right. But I would be like inside, like, that means you get to make all the obvious jokes, all the great jokes, and no one else has done them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else will be like, oh, I gotta cross that out. Gotta cross that out. Gotta cross that out. But we see that every year on the roast. And in fact, they've even perpetuated. I mean, there have been previous, rehearsals where Michelle's like, well, you don't want to go first or something like that. I'm like, you do in a roast. Yeah. Dummy. Anyway. Why don't we do this, Taylor? Why don't we take a break?
Okay.
When we come back, we are going to talk about the rest of the episode.
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14. Get tickets now.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
Yeah! Oh my God, Taylor. I don't know what I did during that break. I snorted some booger sugar. I went and did some jumping jacks. And now I'm back. I am full of energy. I'm ready to talk about this roast. But first, let's talk about literally probably one of the most pointless and boring elimination days in the history of the show. It's elimination day and the queens get ready for the main stage. Daya hopes her set goes well. Georges is scared to hit the stage, but's ready to lip sync if necessary, while Bosco pokes fun at Daya for her dirty beauty blender. I was really literally watching elimination day, and I was like, you know, when during any kind of episode when there's like a scene that has a lot going on, they'll sort of like warm you up with like little tiny topics, and then they get to, like, it'll be like, oh my God, my nose is so big. No, it's not, girl. You have the tiniest nose of all time. I think it's big. Did I ever tell you guys that I lived in a coffin for 4 years? And you're like, what? So like, it was all those like little things, and then it was like, dun, 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 and I was like, that was elimination day? I was waiting for the big emotional like moment, the joke, or it doesn't have to be a drama thing. It could be like, oh, my panties are in a bunch, and then they're like running around. There was none of that. It was like literally
a dragonfly.
Yeah. Or like, yeah. There was none of that. It was literally like, I'm putting my makeup on. It really wasn't. It was like, I'm putting my makeup on and this is really fun. Yeah, I'm scared about it, but my jokes are going to be good.
Welcome to the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race. My boyfriend's back, and it's style superstar Carson Kressley.
Was I summoned, everybody? Hello, it's me, Carson Kressley.
Carson, how are you today?
What's Carson Kressley doing here? We didn't summon him.
Oh, yes, you did. I heard my music, and I came running downstairs with my panties on and everything.
Has he been on the show before, Taylor?
A couple of times, yeah. It's usually when you go out to go to the bathroom or something.
But we're not even in the looks.
Well, but he's here. He's here.
I can't even stay for the looks, guys. Taylor, I gotta tell you something. Did I tell you, I went to the doctor this week?
You did? Did everything go okay?
Yeah, it wasn't for me, it's for my boyfriend. He has a really bad case of dandruff.
Oh, what did they give him to take care of that?
Well, the doctor said, have you tried giving him Head and Shoulders? So I went away, a week later, I come back, and the doctor says to me, how did it work out? And I said, not very well, doctor. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, how do you give shoulders?
Well, I have nothing for that.
Well, anyway, I just heard my music. If you have no need for me, then I'm gonna go, all right?
All right, Carson, thanks for stopping by.
All right, toodaloo.
All right. Hey, grab your butt plug on the way out.
What? That was really strange.
It was strange.
Does Carson always just come on and say some really offensive, dumb, corny gay joke?
Yeah, that seems to be his thing. That's his bread and butter.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what that was. Anyway, that was a horrible elimination day. It was one of the worst ever.
Yes.
Also, remind me not to ever play that music again. That's what summons Carson?
Yeah. Like Timmy Trumpet.
What did you just say?
Timmy Trumpet. Who's that?
Taylor? Did you
Timmy.
summon me?
I have never met you before, Timmy. It's so nice to meet you. Why do you have that axe in your hand?
I've met you before. Many times.
Really?
Yes.
When is that?
When you're sleeping in your bed. Have you ever... I have a question.
Yeah?
Have you ever woken up and you think it's sleep apnea and you're like...
Actually, my husband does that. He has night terrors. Now I know that it's not a sleep thing. He's just seeing you.
I'm choking him in his sleep.
That's terrifying.
It is. How are your dogs, Taylor?
Delicious.
It'd be a real shame if someone possessed them.
Sometimes I think they are possessed. Is that you?
Maybe it is.
Oh, okay. How am I going to know that you have possessed my dogs?
If one of them says to you, the devil sucks socks in hell, or darn socks in hell.
Darn socks in hell?
Yeah. I'm not a big Drag Race fan, but...
You like the Sydney gays. Isn't that the one that you
there are
you
too
like?
many episodes of this Drag Race.
Right.
I don't like it.
Okay.
But don't summon me again, please, or I'll start choking you.
Okay. If you could clean up that puddle of blood behind you on your way out the door, that'd be great.
Don't be sassy, Taylor. Be a real shame if something happened to you.
Would it?
Taylor, I don't know. You're summoning a lot of very dangerous things here. I don't know if that was very smart. Anyway, by the way, everyone in the puppet feeder is not going to know what you're talking about there. Guys, this is, if you want to know what afterthought inside jokes sound like, there's a whole thing with Timmy Trumpet and by the way, I can't summon him. Only other afterthought hosts.
Only other afterthoughts do.
Yeah.
And I've never done it before, but I was excited. I feel like I have to summon him at this point.
Yeah. Anyway, Taylor, let's actually talk about the roast, if you will, of Ross Matthews. Okay. Taylor, your thoughts on this big roast of Ross Matthews?
Well, first of all, I loved Rue's hair. That's the important thing. Like I said before, it was not necessarily one of the strongest ones. I kind of agreed with everything the judges said, particularly about the middle of the road. Folks, I thought that Bosco did. Do you want to go over each one, or do you just want kind of my general thoughts?
Give me whatever you want to give. I mean, we're actually pretty good on time.
I really only wrote one word or sentence for each of them. For Bosco, I thought that she was a great start for the show. I thought that she did start off really strong, and of all of the girls, was probably the strongest and should have won the challenge. Georges, it was clear Georges was bombing, but it felt very Rue was. I almost think Rue was laughing too hard at the jokes.
Yeah,
like where there were times, especially with some of the jokes, where she realized if she didn't laugh, no one was going to laugh, and it's very much of the emperor has no clothes, so we all have to. If Rue laughs, then we all kind of laugh with her on that. Willow felt very safe to me. It was not a go for the jugular. It was just kind of like, all right, these are easy jokes. I thought Angeria had a couple of good jokes, but I thought her confidence was what kind of kept her from being in the bottom. For Daya and Deja, I wrote yikes and cringing. And Lady Camden, I thought was really good energy, but then she sort of died out at the end. But I think that was all of the asshole jokes.
Oh yeah, that was not good.
Yeah.
I also, we're why don't we do this? This is weird. We've never done this before, but I want to make sure we're good on time. For my general thing, from memory, because I've only actually watched this once this week, I'm going to be honest with you, Taylor, is that it was very, again, not so bad it was cringy, but I don't remember anyone being particularly good. Okay? So why don't we do this, and why don't we talk about the looks, and then why don't we wrap up the show-ish, but then right before, why don't we listen? No, it was really long. Were there any particular people that we should talk? Let's listen to Georges Camden. Is there one more you want to listen to?
Bosco.
Okay, so Bosco and Georgia Strait in a row, and then we could jump to Camden at the end, and we'll just listen to those three, and we'll listen to those. Okay. Let's talk about Taylor now. The looks. The category this week is too much. Any big thoughts on the looks here?
I liked Bosco's look. I thought it was different, and it was still sort of a bra, a corset, and some panties, but it worked for her because there was something different enough about it. Willow Pill was awesome. Willow's to me was high drag. That was just a lot of fun, and I also thought that Deja's was pretty. No, I'm sorry. I thought Daya was pretty. But I thought Lady Camden's was gorgeous. Lady Camden looked absolutely stunning in her traditional ballerina outfit with the hair and the jewels, and just looked amazing. So those were my favorite looks. Everybody else was just sort of like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't really have strong thoughts on the looks. This is the part where I started being like, my eyes were heavy. People listening to the public feed later should know that I only got a chance to watch it once because I misunderstood the assignment for what time we were showing up today. So I thought it was one time, it was another.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then those are
the looks.
All right. Very good. On the main stage, RuPaul names Bosco the winner of the challenge and places Georges, Daya, and Deja in the bottom three. RuPaul revealed that two of the queens will be eliminated from the race after facing off in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo. In the end, Daya wins the lip-sync and Georges and Deja are told to sashay away, leaving 5 queens in the race. Taylor, any final thoughts on the episode?
Just sort of what we talked about. I think Daya knew she was going to be in the bottom because she changed her heels. That was the first thing that I noticed when she came out. She had on a different set of heels than those 11-inch.
Oh, okay.
Those 11-inch because there's no way she could have done all of those moves in those heels. So that made sense. And we sort of talked about this already. Georges looked so relieved to be done.
Yeah.
That it just she just short of skipping off that stage.
Did you get the sense that Georges was trying or
no? No, I got the sense that of the three of them, Daya seemed to be the one that still had the strongest, like, I need to be here, still had that hunger. And also she said during the lip sync, this song is about being pissed off, and I am channeling into that right now. Whereas I feel like the other two were like, I'm going to do a serviceable lip sync.
Yeah.
But especially when they said the three of you, and that was clearly nobody expected that because you could tell by their reactions, and you could see Daya went, fuck, under her breath. And the other girls in the back were very like, holy shit. I think that at some point, the other two just went, well, now I just went from a 50% chance to a 33% chance.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, I can't do this anymore. It just felt like they were serviceable. I would even say Georges was serviceable. Daya clearly, Deja clearly didn't know the words a couple of times. She just sort of mashed her mouth around. And Georges, this was kind of the problem with Jasmine Kennedy in that you've only got usually so many moves. And if you keep lip syncing, you keep using the same moves. We've seen it already.
Yeah.
And I felt like with Georges was doing some of these moves that I'm like, we've already seen you do these. We're not seeing anything new. Whereas with, at least you can say with Daya and Deja, we haven't necessarily seen them as much. So I'm at least a little bit more intrigued in what they're doing. Deja doesn't know the words. Daya is giving emotion. So my eyes immediately went to Daya Betty to watching what she was doing.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, so you think Daya Betty deserved to be the one that was a fair decision?
Of the three of them? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
Do you disagree with that?
Guys listening at home, I watched this very late and I was nodding off during it and I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. I wouldn't be able to give a fair assessment, but I trust your opinion in public. In private, I don't. And so
I'll get a call 10 minutes from now going, what the fuck were you thinking? And then I cry.
Yeah, I'm really glad this is not a important episode or something like that. Like, there's not just an episode of people. And maybe I'll go and bring it to the runway, or maybe on Relaska Thoughts. If I have any new thoughts on it, I will talk about it there. But for now, I think I've said everything I have to say about this episode. But what I did promise is that we would listen to 3 of the roasts and talk about them. And the first one you wanted to talk about was Bosco. And Bosco landed up winning the whole thing. So let's actually take a listen to her roast. Here we go.
Welcome to the roast of the legendary Ross Matthews.
I'm going to stop it along the way, everyone, just so you know.
Before we get started, I do want to take a moment and talk about myself. Oh! So last week I had...
Now, I will say when I was watching this, I was a little like, that's not really what a roast is, so let's see where this goes. Okay?
Had the legendary honor to be told to go home by each and every one of my competitors.
I didn't think that was a funny joke. And it was something that she really wanted to bring that up. I don't know why. Because she brought it up in the rehearsal in a different way, and then she still brought it up again. Taylor, yes?
I think it is her way of saying, oh, you all wanted to get rid of me? Fuck you all. I'm about to do really, really well. Whether or not that was actually going to happen, I think that was just her way of being, this is what people remember most about me because this is the most recent event that happened to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think she was still, even though she said, I understand everybody had to say a name, I think she was still in her feelings a little bit about this. And that's why she came from that angle.
Everyone on the panel and by RuPaul. I have been told to go home more times than Ross at white parties.
Okay.
I have been told to go home more times than Michelle every time she visits the UK.
Good joke.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, this also explains that was the setup for the jokes at the expense of other people.
Yes. And I just decided right now for Rulaska Thoughts this week, Lori Roggenkamp and I, comedy icon, Los Angeles comedy icon, Lori Roggenkamp and I will dissect this roast for Rulaska Thoughts this week. And then we'll talk about, not she and I won't, but then there will be discussion about Drag Race España after. But, but what I will say then is, you can set up the joke, and it can be, again, this is where Dulce is right, is that you want everything to be as concise as possible. You need to get to the joke. So I think what I would have done differently here is I would have been like, last week, all these bitches, or I don't know what, named me for me to go home, right? What she did was she waited for the joke or the applause and look at them, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just gone right into it. And she goes, I've been told more times to go home than this. Blah, 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 blah. But I didn't, it stopped it. I don't know. I don't think that was a good move.
I have been told to go home more times than RuPaul when she tells her record company she has a new song. I understand the critiques. You're tired of the bras. You're tired of the corsets. You want to see versatility. I'll show you versatility when Willow passes a drug test.
Oh, no. Now, this is one of those jokes that actually might be funny in the room, but I don't think we've really seen, she's mentioned it here and there, but that Willow uses drugs a lot?
Other than the mushroom thing of where she says she takes mushrooms, I don't remember anything else about.
There could be stuff we don't know, but that's one thing. It's funny for the room, but we're not getting it. One of the reasons why crowd work doesn't work.
I'll show you versatility when Georges wins an acting challenge.
Okay.
And passes a drug test.
I guess that was a setup for this joke, but okay.
RuPaul, you are so old that when you say that you are versed, you mean you are both hunter and gatherer.
That seems like an old joke, and I really do think in these roasts, the RuPaul is so old jokes are pretty fucked out. I feel like in the future, you shouldn't do those jokes anymore. Same thing with, we'll get to it in this bit, but no, I don't think anyone does this. Anybody? Oh, well, we'll see. I'll make sure.
Well, and the whole, I'll show you versatility when, I immediately went to Bianca. I'll show you versatility when Visage wears a turtleneck and Santino wins a sewing competition.
Yeah.
Like that, so my brain immediately went that oh God, is she just recycling jokes from old, but I also agree with you that the old jokes with RuPaul are, they're played out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. She's old.
The man of the hour, the reason for the season. When you say that you are verse, no one believes you. But for real, I adore you. Ross is not a top. He's a blouse.
But how is that a big punch at the end? A blouse is a feminine top.
But we also, right, we also don't know with editing, there might have been other jokes that just weren't as funny, so they figure that's the last good joke she had, so we're going to end there. Perhaps,
but it's just also like, but she just said he's not a top. And then she said he's a top, he's a blouse. I don't know. You know what? And now I'm going to promise something else to Lori. There's going to be a roast of Taylor the Latte Boy, even though he's not going to be here, on Thursday on Burlesque Thoughts. And you're going to hear hilarious jokes there.
Woohoo!
And bring on our next girl. If you hated my corsets, I'm sure you're going to love...
And also, please stop doing the, if you hate this, then blah, 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 blah. And I know that's not the joke she's going for, but I hear that. And
I thought that's where she was going to.
Yeah.
Her swimsuits. It's George's.
Okay, so now we're going to do George's. Which, yeah, I'm very curious to do this one. Here we go.
Hi, you nasty bitches. You know, RuPaul, I thought I was going to...
So they did that little... And I'm like, what was wrong with that? There was nothing. Okay, she's just saying hi.
Be competing with
because she took a pause.
Succulent, decadent, gorgeous queens. Instead, I'm getting a linebacker, Lurch, and the Crimson Chin bitch. Speaking of a line...
Okay, it's not a good joke. It's not a good joke. But the sound editing and the editing is very shady. It's not that bad.
If it was workshopped a little bit, if it was workshopped and the actual presentation of it, she was either taking too many pauses or they were pausing for her. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we talked recently about how on that noise, mm-hmm. they add that to kind of manipulate your feelings. Yeah. And they did that with Latrice on the last All Star. She was in like 60 something times. This is meant for you to go, oh, you're not supposed to like this.
Yeah.
So even if she did have some jokes that were really funny, that noise behind it means we're supposed to go, oh, she's screwing up.
Yeah. If you're grading on a curve, this isn't that bad. If you're grading on a curve, here we go.
Linebackers,
big
hi,
curve.
Michelle.
Oh.
Speaking of linebackers, hi, Michelle. Not bad. Then know that weird, awkward thing where they could have easily edited it out, but they kept it in because they want to make her look bad.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say it's so crazy to think that your plastic surgery is older than me.
By the way, she could have been pausing because they were laughing, and they can cut the laughter out because they're all on their own mics. You know? So the mic that she has only picks up her voice. Okay? It's not going to pick up them laughing. That's coming from another mic. Because she's pausing in a way that you're pausing for laughter, but they're only playing her pausing for no reason whatsoever. Because actually, speaking of linebackers, go to Michelle. That's a line that RuPaul would laugh at.
Yeah.
And there was no laughter. There was some shady editing going there.
I didn't have any, but okay.
I just also want to say, RuPaul, it is so crazy that I've known about you ever since I was in diapers. Now you're the one in diapers.
Not a horrible joke. Again, if we're grading on a curve, not a horrible joke.
It's funny because it's true.
I could smell it, girl. I could smell it. Now the most nastiest bitch of
I still think there's some shady sound editing there.
The hour, Miss Ross Matthews.
Because that was actually kind of quick.
Yeah.
When Ru said it's funny because it's true, and a lot of people would have just kind of gone, ha, and then moved on to the next. But there was kind of that little back and forth. I mean, it wasn't necessarily funny, but props to her for actually, picking up on that opportunity.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Oh my God, you're so gay that your ass sounds like a turkey.
I don't get it, but they're laughing.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you lose all that weight. How's the baby?
Not a bad joke. On a curve.
Surprisingly, George's has good energy up there.
I just want to bring on to the next stage.
Okay, here's the welcome. Here's the welcome, so All right.
But George,
which RuPaul makes these same jokes when she's doing. This is literally out of the RuPaul playbook. During a finale, when she messes up, she does that same thing where she goes, like, not a big deal.
George's roast is
okay. So let's go. Just jump over to Lady. Yes, Taylor, you want to say something? While I jump to Lady.
Do you
Candy?
find it also interesting with all of these that one, it seems like they don't necessarily talk about Ross a lot for it being the roast of Ross Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought it was interesting that Ross didn't get the last where he gets to kind of roast everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. That was but have they done that in the past? Did like Michelle go and roast everybody too? I think usually they don't.
I know, but they did during the Nice Girls roast last year with Heidi and Nina and Valentina. They all got to roast the other queens, but maybe that's because they were former contestants.
Yeah, and they don't mind making them look stupid, but they're not. They don't. Yeah,
and I didn't think Ross Matthews was writing his own jokes. Clearly, he would have writers doing that. But I also wonder if they also that can be perceived as when you've got judges making jokes at them, then that's sort of like punching down.
Yeah, you're right. That's 100% it. All right, you ready for Camden?
Sure.
Okay, let's do Camden. We'll get right out of here.
Everyone! Thank that was over. Yeah!
Good joke.
The Muppets are here! Yeah. Yes! A bunch of ugly monsters who only come to life when there is a hand up their arse.
Not a bad joke.
Not a bad joke.
I'm excited for tonight's runway. Georges will be wearing a headband as a dress, and RuPaul will be telling her that she is a superstar. Yeah.
I don't know.
Not a joke.
It's not a joke. Yeah.
Can't wait for you to superstar your way out of this roast, bitch. Damn.
Oh my God.
Enough about
I don't know that great.
them. I'm in front of gay Mount Rushmore tonight. Yes.
I don't know if Dulce Sloan's in the game unless she's the mountain.
Knock, knock.
There's a roast. There you go. That would have been.
See, that would have been a funny joke.
I don't know, but Michelle's a whore.
Again, played out. We've heard that.
Michelle actually translates to beautiful, and Visage translates to just kidding.
Not bad.
No.
Hi, Ross.
Hi.
I'm sorry, my dear, but you represent the bottoms and the bottoms of the week.
Not a bad joke.
No.
I feel like the Michelle Visage one, somebody has said that one before.
Oh, so many times.
Okay. I was going to say there was one that I feel like I've heard this joke before, and that I think was the one.
It's a go-to here on this roast.
True Hollywood success story, proof that you do not need a deep voice, you just need a deep throat.
Who's looking at Ross Matthews like, God, Ross, if you give me a blowjob, the Hollywood ladder is yours.
Ross, you are so gay.
Yeah.
That when I shout hello into your ass, it echoes. Hello, hello, hello. And then it comes back, hey, bitch.
A horrible joke.
A horrible setup. Because one, why would you be screaming into Ross's asshole? Why would Camden be screaming into Ross's asshole? If she had said it, you're so gay, if anyone screams hello into your asshole, it comes back, it echoes out, hey, bitch. I think that could, again, that's making it a little more concise, a little more succinct, and you say it once,
yes,
and then you're done.
I agree with you.
Every time I shout, I need relationship advice, and it comes back.
Why would you shout into his asshole? I need relationship advice.
Right.
Out. Dump him, bitch. Every time I shout, what is the meaning of life into Ross's ass?
Again, why is anyone shouting, what is the meaning of life into Ross's asshole?
It echoes in and it comes back out. It's Britney, bitch.
Oh my God.
That's all I have time for today. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, horrible
and thank
closer.
you for letting us destroy you completely tonight, Ross Matthews. We adore you. Mwah. Thank you.
Let's get.
All right. Well, we're going to do a full breakdown of those and the other ones on Rulaska Thoughts this Thursday. Thursday for Patreon. You'll get it on Friday morning in the public feed, where we'll also discuss about España as well. Taylor, any other final thoughts before we get out of here?
No,
right.
I think this is good.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. You can also leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Taylor has another podcast. It's called Pod is My Co-Pilot, and you can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Instagram and Twitter at PIMC Taylor. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram and Twitter at Joe Betance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen and Zach Birch. Very special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters: Agnesia Shopinska, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Coco San Pedro, Declan Prosser, Drew Brooks, E. Smith, Emma, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Jesse Harris, Lauren Eckert, Lionel Campbell, Lucy Carrasco, Luke Stamen, Nicholas Springham, Poppy Woods, Ricardo Herrera, Sarah Yu, Tom Bombs, Travis Newland, Troy Anderson, Zach Nelson, Corinna Williamson, Elizabeth Timmer, Nikki Baker, Robert NYC, David Olson, and Alexandra Sixt. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.